Attention crew, this is your Captain Caliban speaking. This is a supplemental episode of Enterprising Individuals where we bring you news and tidbits from the world of Trek, also interviews with special guests, and a few little surprises along the way. And today's surprise is we're here in Chicago for the Mission Chicago TrekCon. We are planning to have a great time and to report from the floor, so stay tuned for information about that. But as a little treat to get us into this and to wet your whistle, I am talking with two special guests today. Guest Mikanhana from the Just Enough Trope and Sailor Noob podcast, and Gooey from the Virtual Theater podcast, and from BackTrekking. We're here to talk about Star Trek films, as we're talking about on the show this year, this season, and the ratings behind films. Why are some rated so high? Why are some rated so low? What's wrong with Rotten Tomatoes anyway? We're talking about our impressions about the Star Trek films and where we would rate them on a list from 1 to 13. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for more Trek news all this weekend. And that's all from me. It's the Chicago way. And with that, let's get underway. Here we are in Chicago.
Yes. For
Mission Chicago, the official Star Trek convention. Of course, I'm Caliban, and I'm joined by two special guests on this episode. Go ahead and introduce yourselves right over here.
Hi, I'm Mikanhana. I am the co-host of the Just Enough Trope podcast and the host of Sailor Noob podcast.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
And
I'm Gooey from BackTrekking and the Virtual Theater podcast.
On brand with a Zelda t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. I got Trek shirts for the rest of this weekend.
Yeah. I wear my Prince shirt. Get that out of the way.
Yeah.
All Star Trek from here on out. Well, it's exciting to be here at this first official TrekCon in Chicago, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. You know, the sense that I got is that I think it's going to be pretty well attended.
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It wasn't like totally sold out. But I think as things are kind of getting more back to normal, I think people are going to show up.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
It probably, compared to whatever was going on last year, I don't know.
Yeah. Not much. What was going on last year?
Yeah.
You haven't been to a lot of cons.
No. We were talking, like, I've never been to, like, a con for, like, Star Trek or Comic-Con or anything like that. Yeah. So I don't know what to expect, you know. Yeah,
a lot of people, if it's going well, I know that Mika and I have been to a couple cons where there are not a lot of people there, and there's nothing sadder than a con where nobody's really there. And the celebrities have to, like, go door to door looking for people to adore them.
It's really
I was accosted in Dealer's Alley by young Indiana Jones. Just like...
That was a special moment, and like he was just trying to look for ways to like make the con, I think, more fun, interactive for him, because I think he realized really early on, oh no, this is not that many people are going to come.
No, he was working hard, but like it was like 8 a.m. and suddenly, oh my God, it's half the Boondock Saints is like coming right at me.
I know.
That's a lot of leather bracelets. But one of the things that we're doing on the show this year is we're talking about the films of Star Trek.
Yes.
And, of course, you guys know the legend of the Star Trek curse, which is that, at least for the initial films, the odd-numbered films are the quote-unquote bad ones, and the even-numbered films are the good ones. Mm-hmm. But I would challenge that, just generally. We've already talked about some of the films, the earlier films on the show, and the consensus was... maybe not so bad. You know, like maybe the first film, Star Trek the Motion Picture, is kind of misunderstood. It's not what people thought they were getting necessarily, but it's not a bad film. So if that's not bad, what about Star Trek 3? If Star Trek 3 came after Star Trek 2, a great movie, and could never follow up on that. Right. So that's two of the odd ones. Maybe this curse doesn't exist at all. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, what if every Star Trek film is misunderstood? And fast forward to the end of this, we all love Into Darkness. That's my plan. That's my ultimate plan.
Our episode would disagree.
Yeah, that's true. We did talk about it on BackTrekking. So I thought that we'd talk about the Star Trek films just generally and the ratings they got and whether we think that they're fair or not. and maybe why they got them, and then talk about like our own personal rankings.
Oh, okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Normally at this point in the show I would ask like, who you got a favorite Star Trek movie? But of course we'll find out what your favorite Star Trek movie is at the end of this. You can't cheat.
No.
If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, they have an entire article made up for this specific purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
And
serious.
When we talked about Star Trek V for our live show last year on Enterprising Individuals, we talked about how Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, is dead last. It's number 13 out of 13 Star Trek films with a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think that that's undeserved, but we'll get into my opinion later.
I guess we'll get into your opinion later.
I'm with you. So,
yeah.
I think it's not the worst.
Right.
I mean, again,
it's not the best either.
Yeah.
And again, it comes after Star Trek IV, which, adjusted for inflation, might still be the most successful Star Trek film. Like, people love Star Trek IV. Mm-hmm. And so it's coming after that. It's a movie that, you know, had a lot of problems, kind of had the rug pulled out from under it in terms of its production. You've got William Shatner, who, I don't know if critics had a bone to pick with him for seeing Incubus or something like that, but like, it just seemed like people were not ready to accept a Star Trek film, which is, I think it's got a cool premise. Like, they're trying to find out, you know, the final frontier. God. What is God? What is the meaning of life? What's this big head shooting lasers at us? You know, I don't think that it's like a bad idea for a Star Trek film, but clearly people, consensus bad.
I think I was like put off by it when I first watched it because like the way it starts and stuff and the way the characters are, it felt like the most like a caricature of the characters.
Okay.
Like it's a bit like, you know, Bones the way you remember them in a similar way that I think like they kind of are in like Star Trek 2009, where it's sort of like, it's like them kind of doing the characteristics you're known for, but played up even bigger. And at first I was like, this seems like shallow and kind of corny.
Like they're coming out on like an episode of Batman or like a variety show, and it's like, hey, look, everybody, it's Dr. McCoy. This is his character. Oh, he's irascible.
Right.
And he says something.
And they're like talking about row your boat and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a big turnoff for me when I initially saw the movie. I was like, what is this? But like, I think my appreciation for it grew when I went back and like watched all of TOS, and I was like, I have a better understanding of this relationship now. So I have a better understanding as to why, I mean, they're the three main guys. I knew that before, but I have a better appreciation of like why they would be doing this round singing together. And why, you know, and it is very funny. I mean, just the idea of both Spock and Bones singing is very funny. Because they don't seem like they're just sporadic singers.
No.
Yeah, I can't imagine like without being familiar or having a love and an understanding of the characters. It's just like, what is this like old timers show tune hour? You know, it's like, who are these guys and why do I care about them eating beans?
I sort of grew to love it a little bit in a way that I kind of like some of the characterization in like the 2009 movie, in that it's like, well, it's a bit more lighthearted and fun. It's sort of like a little wacky, you know. So it's like, it's okay if it's not like this. It's not like, you know, Wrath of Khan level characterization or anything, but it's just fun to see those guys goofing around, I guess. And then it really wins me over by the end. Like, I like the, you know, the stuff with like Bones and his like flashback he has.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Really gets me.
Yeah, it's sort of all based around this twist that Spock has this secret brother, and that you know, there's something at the center of the universe that they have to go check out, and so I don't think it hangs together much as a picture, but like you said, there are some great individual moments in it, and a rock monster that we never got to see.
No!
They had to cut the rock monster. Let's talk about the number 12 film, 12 out of 13, and that is 2002's Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay. It's a little more.
Not a great film.
Not a great film.
I don't think any of us are going to argue about that.
Yeah. Dune buggy.
Yeah, the Dune buggy.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The impression I get of this film is that it's, the inmates finally taking over the asylum, It also had its kind of production troubles, but at this point, Patrick Stewart's got input into where we're going. Brent Spiner has got input into where we're going. His friend John Logan is writing the script, and so it just becomes... doing a Picard data adventure never really goes wrong. Except for Nemesis. Yeah. And having, a clone of Picard, having a clone of Data, and all these ideas about clones, and what does it really mean? And having it be, I think especially, in retrospect, being the last TNG adventure. No wonder they wanted to make a Picard show. Or bring the entire crew back for a third season so we can just, kind of heal this. We're going to leave it there. Ugh. Do you have any memories about Nemesis in particular, Mika?
Well, I watched it not that long ago, and it's not a great movie at all. What are the name? The guys with the other Romulans that we don't know? Yeah, that's an interesting idea, but I don't feel like we really follow up on it that much. And
telling in that we've never really seen Remans again, except Lower Decks.
Right.
They're mentioned, and I think we might see them, and then they're in Star Trek online, but that's it.
Right, because we don't want to remember Nemesis. We all just want to forget. We just want somebody to Men in Black us, and it just never existed.
Use the Crusher technique to remove your memories.
Right.
Which always works.
And then, what's his name? Shinzon. Yes. I don't know why we had to have a clone of Picard. I just really don't understand why this had to happen. And
they were running out of gas, I think.
Yeah. And he is. God, what is his name? I'm really bad with names. The actor.
Tom Hardy?
Yeah, Tom Hardy. I love Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is a great actor. This is not a great role.
No, and it's an early film for him, and he was really disappointed that it did not go well. It really affected him in terms of his confidence. And
isn't that why he got super jacked though?
That's one of the this is what I read, that he got really depressed. He got into substance abuse. I think he was drinking a lot, and he hit a point where he's I got to turn this around. Yeah, and then he got jacked.
And now we've gotten some great
we got Jack
things
Hardy
out of him.
So we're in Batman Town.
Right.
Batman Town.
I just love the fact that I don't know if this is what they intended, but when we see that picture of young Shinzon in his academy uniform and he has a shaved head, and Picard says, "Oh, it's because I lost a bet or something like that, so I shaved my head." But I really think that the movie makers thought that people wouldn't get that this was young Picard if we didn't see him bald, which is So that's why the little kid in Picard, when we see young Picard, he's totally bald when he's talking to his mom. And we had to shave your head.
No, he's not.
Do you have impressions about Nemesis?
I feel like there are things I appreciate about it. It's similar to me with Into Darkness, where it's I like the part where you made a really dumb action movie.
Yeah.
I don't mind the dune buggy, and I think the Remans are these cool movie monsters.
Yeah.
But then it's the part where it's but we want to shake up the lore and do all that stuff, make you think, and it's that's not what you're good at. You should just have them fighting Remans, and it feels even more parody than some of the other movies.
I almost wish that Balance of Terror had not been one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever.
Yeah.
Because it gave us the Romulans, and I feel like they've been trying for 55 years to have a Romulan story that really tops that, or really lives up to it.
I think
we always think of the Romulans as being this is going to be a cool thing, the Romulans.
Yeah.
And they're always it's not that great.
I think that it could have been I don't think you needed the Picard clone. I think that if it was just we need these guys.
Evil Data, you could have
Evil Data
B4 is an Evil Data.
But the evil Reman type thing, you could have a twist that was but they're actually good. They were oppressed,
Sure,
It's sort of the movie monster is actually
it does come out against revolutionaries who are oppressed, fighting back, and now we got to kill all those guys.
Yeah,
and then the Romulans are no, I guess we're good now.
It's sends the wrong message. I just feel it tries to do too much and doesn't succeed.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much going on.
Yeah, they need to maybe just pare it down, a little more simple. Because the Trek movies are usually better when they're
not a lot of subplots in Wrath of Khan. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's too complicated.
I haven't been saying the Rotten Tomatoes, but the Final Frontier was 22, Nemesis is 38. Star Trek: The Motion Picture is next at number 11 with 45%.
I think that's way undeserved.
One of the most successful Star Trek films of all time. One of the most expensive, adjusted for inflation, Star Trek films of all time.
This is the one that's most surprising so far.
Being that low?
Yeah, that bugs me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a vibe.
Personally, first time I saw it, I did not like it, and I haven't watched it again. So I think I need to rewatch it.
It's gonna be a no from you.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't. It almost feels like the least Star Trek of like the original Star Trek films to me, but maybe that's. I just didn't care for the story, I think, is really what it comes down to.
It doesn't feel like TOS.
Yeah.
And so, I see that. It almost feels like, if Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock is like the baked cookie. This is like cookie dough. You can kind of feel what those later movies are going to be, but it's not really there.
It kind of feels like they were trying to figure out, okay, well, Star Wars was big.
Yeah.
We want to...
How do we get lightsabers in this?
How do we make a movie out of Star Trek that's always been a TV show?
Yeah.
I kind of like it in that it is like... Because, like, I love Search for Spock and Wrath of Khan, but those are a little bit more... They're, like, a little bit more, like... To me, when I think about them, I think of, like, those are Star Trek movies. They're not, like... how the show usually is.
Yeah.
And this is not like the show, but it is like a sci-fi movie. And so I just kind of like that it's like kind of a deliberately paced movie. And I do love the extended scene of like Spock flying deeper and deeper into the crazy effects. And I like his sort of storyline in there, but it is like a very brutally kind of paced movie, but I like a good vibe.
That's a good observation. I think that it just feels like a 70s sci-fi movie less than a Trek movie.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you've seen the Andromeda Strain, but Robert Wise directed that too, and it's kind of a similar feel. Yeah. Number 10 on the list is Star Trek Generations at 47%. So you see that these are all just a couple, except for Star Trek 5. They're all just a couple points apart. I don't know.
I actually kind of like.
I kind of like Generations too. I understand why people wouldn't, because we're mashing two things together. Like here's your TOS and here's your TNG, and but
talk about a lot going on.
Yeah, but as a fan, it's cool to see those characters interact with each other.
I think they earned it.
Right.
I think after ending Next Gen, it's like, you might as well just do it. It's fun.
Reviving Trek after all those years, having 7 successful seasons, and it's like, victory lap.
And on top of it, I do think, like, the Picard, like, Nexus stuff, I like that a lot. And then, to me, the Shatner stuff was, like, just, like, the icing on the cake. It's a little fan servicey, it's a little,
There's a lot going on, we can just complain about that, but, like, I feel like most of it tracks and lands. Yeah. When they say that like a movie feels like a long episode, it feels like a long episode, but one where like the A, B, and C, and even like D plots are all kind of landing okay. You've got the thing with Data, struggling with his emotions, and you've got Picard worrying about his destiny and death in the future, and you've got... Who knew we were going to wrap up Lursa and Bator's story in this film, too?
Like, let's blow them up.
They're getting a lot done. Yeah.
And then we get to have another fight with Kirk and a rock quarry. So,
right. Yeah.
One more.
Back to basics.
I know. Yeah. So that felt great.
You also, like, the way it's... When you look at it, it seems like, this is going to be, like, Kirk-Picard team-up movie. But it's really not. It's like a Picard movie... And at the very end, he goes and meets Kirk. And also, Shatner's amazing in that scene. I just love all the like little revelations he's having, and all these memories of things we've never even really seen.
Right? Yeah,
he sells you on them all.
Yeah, and it's all a history for him that is it's 70, 80 years in the past for Picard. But like you're right, like we never even saw that. So who's Antonia? Like who's all this?
But I believe
he left Starfleet again, and then he's going to go back to Starfleet again. And,
Well, it's also just a really nice, like, passing of the baton, I mean, maybe that's a really cliched thing to say, but, like, TOS, we're doing the movies, and now I pass it to you, TNG.
Little man.
Yes. Yeah, young man, Patrick Stewart.
All right, little boy.
Number 9 on the list at 54% is Star Trek Insurrection.
That's the long episode, the movie.
Lock and load. Yeah, that is,
Yeah. Is this the one where Jean-Luc is an action star?
That's everyone, but...
Yeah.
But especially,
this is the one where he's in the Bruce Willis tank top and swinging around.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Kicking Salieri off of a cliff.
It's not bad, but it's not like that's not what I think of when I think of Picard. I think of him doing diplomatic negotiations between people and everything. But I don't hate it.
Yeah. Every Star Trek movie is about everybody getting old. They're too old. And like we're 2-3 films in, and already it's like, oh, this planet makes us young. We're not old anymore. And even the Kelvin films, the third film's like, we feel old. So this is like them really like confronting that and just saying like, well, what does that like mean? And like, if our characters did feel young again, how would that change how they act? Would they, they rebel, but is that something that they're choosing to do, or is it something that, is influencing them? And Riker and Troy sort of rekindle their relationship, and
shaved Riker.
Yeah, Riker.
They all get horny, which is great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's not like the Naked Now or whatever. It's like good horny.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's all very positive horniness. Yeah.
I don't know. This one's kind of like I always thought of as like I guess it's the least bad of the quote unquote bad ones, but I don't know. It's not trying to hurt anybody.
But I do agree with what you said, Gooey, that it is like a long episode, and it reminds me of what I can't remember which series was it now that it's TNG, right, where they find the civilization that's being monitored and they didn't know they were being monitored.
Oh, who watches the Watchers?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
It's maybe because it's
kind of like that.
It's one of those where they clearly just went, what's a good plot? What's a good plot? And sometimes you get Space Seed into Khan, and sometimes you get Duck Blind into Insurrection.
It's also, I don't know, I guess I haven't thought about it compared to the other movies, but maybe it's because like there are just on like this one planet.
Yeah.
So it feels like here's the planet we showed up to this week, you know. Mm-hmm. Which is, I think that's fine to do also, because like they implied after the show ended, like, they just kept going on adventures. So like maybe here's just like one, not everyone has to be like the world ending, like the Borg's gonna kill everyone type thing. Like maybe we just go to a planet and have another go. Why not?
We can always come back for vacation.
Yeah.
That is the last of the rotten ones. And I will note that every one of those, except for Nemesis, of course, was an odd. Now the jump is from 54% to 79%. So when people like Trek films, they really like them.
Okay.
So number 8 is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. The bad one is fresh.
The bad one is
certified.
Fresh. Yeah.
This one has it's got like sort of a, it's not as like spectacular.
Yeah.
It's got kind of more off-brand vibe or something like a movie you'd catch on a TV on a Sunday afternoon vibe. But I think it's really good. Going
back to that feel that we were talking about of like, this is just like, a serial adventure or like a, an old-time sci-fi movie where just kind of more stuff is happening.
Yeah, I mean, there are parts of it that I really like.
Doc Brown?
Yes, thank you.
He's
Doc Brown!
He was great. I love him. I think he did a great job in his Targ.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's so crazy that like now when you think of ILM, you think of like lightsabers and CGI and stuff, but they did everything back then. So they made that like puppet, the Targ puppet.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean there are parts of it that I really like them sneaking off and like stealing the ship is amazing. And I mean, I think the actress who took over as Sarek did a really good job. I just don't think they gave her a lot to do.
Yeah.
I
kind of just helped horny Spock or whatever.
Yeah. And like, I was kind of sad that they killed off David, and I was kind of surprised in the way that they did it, but
yeah.
It was kind of a senseless sort of.
It felt senseless, but it was kind of like, it seemed like it was like, oh, well, you messed up making this planet. You put in your cheat code and it didn't work or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And so we're gonna the world, karma is gonna punish you and you're dead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To me it feels like, I mean, obviously we're going to go on to more great Kirk stories, but there was a chance to have Kirk confront the idea of being a family man and be changed as a person because his son comes into his life, and they went, yeah, we kill him though. You just kill him and have him be Captain Kirk still. Yeah. And that's except for Sisko, that's affected every captain since. Picard is now 90 years old and he's a robot and and he has no children and he's loveless and I just want to see, we've seen older Janeway now in Prodigy, and I hope like once the Prodigy thing is over, I'd love for her to just warp back home to her children and dogs. To have a family.
That'd be nice.
But this was kind of like the death of like, no Trek families for captains.
They made something out of it with the part 6, where they kind of had Kirk having, these prejudices or whatever.
Yeah.
And that kind of tied to that, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that movie, I think it doesn't do much other than, I guess they're trying to like ramp up the stakes or something. Yeah. I don't think they really thought too much about what it meant,
It does tee up 6 really well. It'd be a lot different to be like, you gave all those guns to the people on that planet, and that's why I hate Klingons.
Yeah.
You made me have to be a terrorist on Organia.
Yeah, right. The Tribbles.
Yeah, those damn Tribbles.
The Quattro Triticale.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is something to be said, because we hadn't really seen a lot of what we know of as Klingons.
Yeah.
Before that movie.
Yeah.
So.
And it sort of, because like, there's a lot of like offhanded, I feel like, random comments about Klingons from, because they're the bad guys in TOS, that they kind of make that, then the way we come to understand them, it seems like that's kind of rude to say, and I think they kind of like make it canon then that it's like, he actually harbors like a bias towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No TOS Klingon would blow up his girlfriend just because she saw the secret plans. But that's how tough the new Klingons are.
Yeah.
Number 7 is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, which is sitting pretty at 82% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's a great movie.
I mean, there's not really too much to say, right? What I want to talk about is, why is it number 7?
Yeah.
Ooh, why is it number 7?
I have a strong disagreement there.
I think maybe because according to this list, all of the JJ Trek is higher.
We haven't hit it yet.
We haven't hit it yet at all.
This has got everything, and this is unlike 1, 2, and 3. I feel like it's at its point, it's the most Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
Out of them, because it's like them going on this wacky sci-fi adventure, going back in time, which they like to do a lot. Getting some whales. It's like humorous. It's got some action, but it's mostly kind of fun. And what it does really well is it's like a great ensemble movie.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of got their own little mission. Sulu's flying the helicopter.
the TOS films hadn't been that way to that point. Arguably, the show hadn't been that way. This is where the ensemble really appears for the first time.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it's just a fun movie, and I think that if I were to point somebody who wasn't a Trek fan to a Trek movie as an entry point, I would tell them Star Trek 4. Because I think if it's the most easy to just understand and just kind of enjoy without having all of that background information about the characters. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting that you pointed out the JJ films have not appeared yet, so I wonder if this is
I'm a little surprised.
I'm
going to be honest.
of more modern reviewers just looking at, it's an old movie about whales or something, and not, being as excited about a J.J. Abrams film, a Chris Pine film.
Yeah, it's the new shiny thing.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes, it's all relative. Also at 82% at number 6, so I guess we're just doing it by... Now they share the spot, I guess. Okay. Is Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
It's a pretty good one.
That's undeserved. That's a really good one.
Why is that at 82?
I think it should be higher. But maybe that's just my personal opinion.
This list is garbage. This list is only here to spark conversation.
I love Star Trek 6.
It's a good part 2 style-wise of Wrath of Khan, for sure.
Yes, 100% agree with that. Yeah. It's more serious for the TOS movies, and it's got... I mean, I think there are different plots definitely going on, but they all connect to each other, whereas
it's funnier than 2.
Yeah, it is. I would agree with that.
Yeah. I think the stakes are higher than 2.
Yes.
It's like 2, but just more and faster and more energy. Mm-hmm. But the thing is does it get points because I think it's like the peak of the form. They've been doing these movies. They've been wrestling with rock monsters and trying to make whales work and stuff like that. They've been going through all these different styles and stuff, and then they make one more, and this is it. Look at what TNG did. It, I think we can agree in this room, fell on its face for its last film. Yeah. And here's the last film. The stars are all aging. The other show is already on and is ready to take over. And, it's already on at that point. And yet they nail it and get arguably one of the best films in the franchise. It's just the accomplishment is incredible.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
This was TNG hadn't fully hit its peak either, but this was just the beginning of such a good era of Star Trek. And then I think just once you get 10 years later, it's the run maybe the wells run dry a little bit, because we've talked about a lot how there's episodes of Enterprise that are we've done this plot in 3 other series, So
with the actor in this episode.
Yeah, right.
Didn't you do this exact? Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, we're gonna do a trial.
So this is when they're at their they just really know what they're doing.
Yeah, the whole franchise is energized. At number 5, J.J. Abrams makes his first entrance into the list at 84% with Star Trek Into Darkness.
Oh my god.
85?
I have to admit, when it came out, I watched it a lot, and I was so stoked because it was the first Star Trek movie that came out after I was brought back into liking Star Trek, and so I was just kind of blinded by the bells and whistles a little bit. And to connect back to what I said earlier about how I liked the part of it where they made a big dumb Fast and the Furious movie in space. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is why I like Beyond more, because I think they just stuck to
literally Fast and
Furious. But this is but then it's trying to be all deep and we're gonna look at the series in a way we never have before, except we actually have.
Yeah.
And also we got this guy, and he's not Khan, but
just
you wait and see what his deal is.
What's the twist gonna be? Yeah.
So it's just I wish it was just more dumb and not trying to be not dumb. I don't know.
I just really wish he wasn't Khan. Like, have him be somebody else. I think that really, honestly, that's what clouds my entire memory of this. And I like Benedict Cumberbatch. This is not a great film, but just, like, don't lie to us. Like, why'd you lie to us? Why
And it
all
just
this
makes so
subterfuge?
many things in the movie not really make sense to anyone unless you've seen The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Like, the reveal that he is Khan.
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone know or care? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess
mean, yeah.
It's his Earth history, but...
If you, like, how you solve that is, in the first act, you have them be warned about Khan, or they read something about Khan, or, like, remember that guy that, took over the Earth or whatever, so we know who this is, and now he's here. But you're right, like, just holding on to that reveal and having to open that box at that point means that there's just nothing isn't invested at this point, except this guy murdered Christopher Pike. So it's like yeah, it's a rough one. It's a rough one, and it's so high on the list. Maybe we'll talk about it later. Let's talk about number 4, which is another Kelvinverse film at 86%. Star Trek Beyond.
I like the movie.
I like it too.
I like it too.
It's a fun romp.
Now, unless we have more to say, let's just jump into the fact that the next movie, at number 3, is also 86%. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
No.
Oops.
That should be much higher.
Oh, we're going to discuss these together.
What's higher than... Wait, where is it, right?
So, Beyond and Khan are both 86%. And I don't know why Beyond is at 4 and Khan is at 3. Age Before Beauty, or if they're counting box office receipts.
Why are these the same? Like, Beyond is fun, but it's not like Wrath of Khan level. Wrath of Khan is just like a good movie. And it's also Star Trek.
It's like a unimpeachable movie.
Star Trek Beyond exists, and anything that's good about it and anything that's bad about it is probably all directly due to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
If Star Trek II had not been successful...
what every Star Trek film would be since 1982.
Right. If it had not been as successful, there wouldn't be a Beyond.
Well, that's very possible. I think that they probably would have tried. Depending on how big of a failure it was, would have tried again. But just having it be, we're going to be somewhat serious, we're going to contemplate some kind of theme, but not too much, because we've got battles to do, we've got, worms to put in people's ears, and we've got chases and Shakespeare quotes to shout at each other. And it's like, that's kind of what Star Trek films are, basically. Mm-hmm. And when they're not, like Star Trek V, people go, no, boo.
Well, Beyond took that, but instead of Shakespeare quotes, it's going to be sabotage.
Right.
It's going to be Beastie Boys songs, yeah. And what if we had a lady that could grab things with her head? What if we did that?
Sure.
We got 2 more films. Number 2 is at 92%.
Oh, no.
Star Trek First Contact.
Okay, well, this is a good movie, I think. Maybe not... Well, it's good.
I think it's the best of the TNG movies. It's been a really long time since I've seen it. I remember, like, the parts on Earth, it just kind of, like, some of them were, like, good, and, like, some of them it just seemed like they were just monkeying around.
Yeah.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, I mean, they kind of didn't have a choice. I guess they were just making the best of the situation. Yeah, right. And then also the Borg. So, I mean...
originally in the script, they had Riker on the ship and Picard on the surface. Mm. So Riker was doing the action stuff, and Picard was down there. And I think it was Picard that went to Ronald Moore and was like, I should be on the ship.
I'm the Borg
doing that. Yeah, I'm the Borg guy.
Well, and honestly, that makes sense.
Once again, it's like, why is our captain in danger? The whole point is that number 1 is a big meat shield for the captain, but he's stuck on the planet, trying to get this whole mission together while Picard's fighting the Borg. So, and I think it's a better switch.
I think so too. And the thing is, I make that argument sometimes when I'm watching Trek. It's like, why are they? But it's just Trek, the captain's gonna captain, and sometimes it's like, I'm gonna go on this mission, and there's nothing you can say about it. So.
I wonder, we've talked about kind of borrowing things from earlier films, and I wonder if all the Moby Dick talk is like them TikTok. Moby Dick Talk, our new podcast. It's EDM and porn. I don't know. And I wonder if they like looked at Khan using Moby Dick before, but using it only really like a Bartlett's quote version of it. Just this idea of revenge, and instead taking somebody who is a man of letters and literature like Picard and him really understanding Moby Dick and what it's about. And embodying that spirit of vengeance, that character, but then having somebody else point it out to him, and that being the turn. Him realizing, it'd be like if I said to somebody, you're being just like, bad character from a film or something like that, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. Cypher is the worst guy in the Matrix. Or and Picard's really like, no, that's absolutely right. I can't believe that I made that mistake. And then she's like, yeah, I didn't read it. I just read the Cliff Notes or whatever. So she kind of fools him. It's a really smart script. And then there's a ton of pew pew. Yeah. You got everything you want.
Yeah. I think it whips ass, actually.
Yeah. Much better said. But 2 points above it at 94%. And number one is Star Trek 2009.
So confounding to me.
Wow. I don't understand.
It's a fun movie, I'll say. But...
It's fun, but the best Star Trek movie, I just can't agree with that.
I think I talked earlier about how it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Farm boy. Yes. Dreams of escaping to the stars. He gets an older mentor who helps him, who then passes away, and he meets a crew of individuals and a weird alien guy, and they've got to blow up a big thing, and it's just...
Well, it's also it has I don't know, maybe this is just I feel more a hallmark of more recent movies, J.J. Abrams movies, where it's now the only way to establish stakes is we have to blow up the entire planet of the main character. I guess they did that in the Star Wars originally, but even I feel in the newer Star Wars, they're we're gonna blow up 7 planets.
Vulcan is Alderaan, you're right.
But now, but now that's they blow up Vulcan, Romulus. It's now they're just leveling all these planets in Star Trek that it's we don't need to go that big. It doesn't need to be that crazy.
Pike's Enterprise has nowhere to go.
They just blew up Book's planet on Discovery.
Exactly.
I'm do we have to do this? I'm so done with can a character experience a tragedy without their entire planet being destroyed?
Plus, you can have, now we're just criticizing Discovery, but you
Sorry.
the DNA can lay waste to Quajon to the point where clearly his whole family has died.
Sure.
And the 90% of the population's wiped out. But they are space druid plant people. So over many years, maybe they can restore the planet, but a devastating blow has been struck. But obviously, we gotta blow up a planet. This is a space thing.
Well, with that scenario, there's at least a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Right? For Book and for Quajon.
It is, it's the ultimate, sort of letting go, because he's literally, I'm sure there's probably other people of his race, off the planet, but he's, the last, guy from Quajon. And that's what Spock faces in this film, and that's why we identify with this. It's number one on the list.
That also made me, what you just said, too. I remember when I saw it, this is before I was a big Trek fan, but it did kind of have me, peaked. But I remember, my friend I saw was this is Spock Trek. It's this is about how cool Spock is. And then the follow-up movie is, he's running around punching guys in the face. And I'm I would be okay with this turn for Spock, but, again... then also trying to set it against, but remember his big epic bromance with Kirk, even though they hate each other in these movies, just doing all the stupid stuff. I'm if you just want to give me dumb, Schwarzenegger Spock, just do that. You don't need to, also then do the callbacks, and he's not the same guy. It's fine,
Right, I'm okay with it being a different Spock.
His planet blew up, and now he's, a murderer, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not that intense, but...
I like the Schwarzenegger Spock idea. He's not logical.
The thing that doesn't work for me in this movie is, switching who sacrifices themselves.
Yeah.
It just doesn't...
Into Darkness.
Oh, is that Into
That's
Dark?
Into the Dark.
That's Into the Darkness?
Yeah,
so I got them mixed up? Okay, never mind.
Come on.
But that didn't, like... And then, like...
And they do the con line.
Because he really
lame.
cared. They were good buddies. You know this.
But they hate... They're frenemies.
They never are friends.
No, okay, they're just enemies. They're not even frenemies.
They, like, definitely don't like each other. Like, we've never seen... That's the difference. In Wrath of Khan, there's so many tender moments with all of them.
Whoa. Slow down.
They love each
They
other.
are.
And you still have those scenes where they're like, oh, you Vulcan, you're green blood. But they love each other and it's clear. But
Spock, why would you do what I tell you to and let me bang all the babes? Come on.
Yeah, in this they're just like, I hate your guts.
God,
like,
Spock, you're the worst. I love when characters are just totally like frustrated with each other and their circumstances. In Horizon Forbidden West, the main character, every single line is like, I guess I gotta fight these guys. And you just feel like, why am I doing this then? It's not fun. All right, well, let's talk about our own personal lists here.
Our much better list.
Yeah, we're going to improve on these 3 times over by starting, I guess, at the bottom.
So start with number 13.
With our number 13.
Okay.
Should we all say it at the same time for this one? Because I feel like it might be the same.
We could try.
Yeah, we could try.
On 3, and that's 3, and then go.
Okay,
yeah.
So ready? 1, 2, 3.
Into Darkness.
Oh, I was going to say Star Trek Into Darkness.
The title is Star Trek.
That is the correct title of the film, so point for me.
Is that like a command? Like, go Star Trek Into Darkness?
It kind of sounds like it.
Worst title of any movie ever made, I think.
I think it races Star Trek Beyond for the bottom.
Beyond,
because it's another command. I think like colons just fell out of favor in like the teens or something like that, and so it's like no colon. And you're right; it becomes an imperative sentence, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And now we're saying Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, maybe because the into really sells it.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe J.J. Abrams always thought that Star Trek was a command.
Star Trek into Insurrection.
Why told to trek into the stars?
Star Trek into your Nemesis.
And he always thought it was train your wagon. Wagon train. All right, so I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. So let's then move on to our... We're not going to say it.
No. I just knew that one would for sure. Well, this one might be the same, too.
It might be the same.
Should we do it?
Yeah. Should we do it? Just
one,
no Star Trek, just the rest of it.
Yes.
Okay, ready?
1, 2, 3.
Nemesis.
Oh, wow.
Yes!
Oh, wow. We're all too similar.
Okay,
that's
pretty similar.
What a bad show.
I think it'll change here, though.
I think it'll change at 11. That's my prediction.
Yeah, that's where we start to mix it up a little bit. So maybe, Mika, tell us what your 11th best film is.
Okay, so I don't know that this is going to be very popular with the rest of you, but my number 11 is the motion picture.
Wow, yeah. Unpopular. Me.
Okay, let's sit here for 5.5 minutes and think about that.
I think I need to go. Do I need to go to my room?
Just look at each other.
We're gonna float around you. And
Oh no! I think I need to see it again. I just have really.
Well, you have the opportunity.
I know.
Oh, I'm doing
it. I'm now in 8K.
I'm doing the thing tomorrow. I'm gonna watch it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think that needs to happen. I think maybe this needs to be rectified, but I just didn't enjoy. I remember watching it and just not being like looking at my watch and like what time is it? And my favorite part, which we were talking about at dinner, is when they look at each other. When Kirk and Scotty look at each other and then they look at the ship and they look at each other and they look at the ship. That is...
They're so happy.
Yeah.
I love that. That is fantastic. And...
It's kind of like, it's like, oh, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like this ship. This eye candy over here.
Well, if that's yours, then what's yours? Good?
Oh!
Mine, I don't know if you'll care, but I put 2009.
Okay.
There. But really, like I was saying earlier, I do think it's like a fun movie. Like I think even, except for the previous two, like I think even like the worst ones are like kind of fun, if anything. But this is the area where it's like, I still feel like they're just like not fully. It's just not fully like Star Trek to me. Like I feel like they don't like really get the characters or anything, but it's an entertaining movie.
Yeah, it kind of goes without saying, at least for me, that like all of these films are kind of. I would watch any one of these films before a lot of other films. Like these are all.
Yeah.
You know, graded up or down. You know, like all the Star Trek movies I love more than any just given film.
Yeah.
But yeah, near the end of the pile for me is 2009 at 11.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow.
And I feel bad about it, but I was just thinking about having watched some of the older movies recently, just for what we're doing on Enterprising Individuals this year. And just remembering some of the like good moments and the characterization, and then thinking about 2009 and them, Kirk's going through the tubes, the water tubes in the engine room, and his big hands and everything, just being like, "You're a clown. I don't know about this."
Simon Pegg's got the little guy.
I think you can sit down here at 11. That's probably fine. Gooey, what do you have for?
10
yeah.
That's where I have The Final Frontier.
Okay.
Where I feel like similar, where it's like it's a little wacky, it's a little out there, like the characters don't fully connect for me, but it does have a charm in that since it is a William Shatner directed movie, I do get the feeling watching it where it's like these are me and my cool friends, and we're, you know, like, and we're doing
comedy jokes.
They're quipping like it's like the Avengers almost.
Yeah,
the
right.
Whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't believe they're doing this, but it has its charm in that too.
My number 10 is number 13, Star Trek Beyond. Another one that, again, I feel bad putting a movie that I enjoyed so much so far down, but I think that it is most satisfying for me in terms of taking two films that I don't love so much and being a third chapter in their stories that makes me kind of go, you know, I have kind of been following this new Kirk a little bit. And I am kind of seeing that Spock is, you know, thinking about his legacy as like one of the last Vulcans, you know, in the galaxy, and Sulu's doing cool stuff, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And Chekhov, you're starting to feel, they're starting to feel a little more like family. And it's got a kick-ass dirt bike scene, so take that, Picard.
Yeah, right.
How about you, Mika?
My number 10 is 2009. So that's for my 2009. So
pretty close.
Yeah. I guess some of my other biggest memories of this film is I was working at Barnes & Noble at the time when this film came out. Oh. And I had a friend who a coworker of mine, and like her friends were also into Trek, kind of, but they were getting together to watch 2009, and it was basically a group of ladies who were a little bit older than me who were just mooning over the hot young men in 2009, and that was my experience. I was like, okay, we're just like, woo, we're wooing over this
horny
movie.
Money spends the same as not a horny money.
Yep, you got it.
It did prime me to like, because then shortly after that is when like Star Trek got on Netflix, like the old shows.
Yes.
And it did prime me, like, not immediately, because it was like maybe a year later, but I had all these memories of like seeing my dad watch it as a kid and being like, what is this weird show? Because I remember seeing Quark and being like, this is weird. What is this guy? And then I went to it with my friend's uncle. He lived with his uncle, and anytime I ever went over to his house, in their living room, his uncle had hanging models of all the ships and like Borg cubes and stuff.
That's cool.
And I was like, whoa, your uncle is intense, you know? And they brought me to this, and so I was like, oh, Star Trek seems cool. I just remember seeing like, you know, the Borg cube and being like, what is this stuff? And so even though like it was a good experience at the time, and then revisiting it, I don't love it as much. It still did, like, it wasn't the cause, but I was like ready. I'm down for some Star Trek, you know.
Well, that's a positive thing to come out of it.
Yeah.
Who's up?
We're talking about our number 10s. Did everybody go?
So 9. So number 9. I'll do number 9.
Okay.
My number 9 is number 9 on Rotten Tomatoes list, I think. No, is the 9th film. Insurrection.
It's the same for me.
And for me.
Oh.
Wow!
We missed our chance to do the thing.
We're pretty close here.
I feel bad after I defended it so strongly, but no, it's number 9.
I think we're in my territory now where I'm like, it's less like, it's closer to like what I imagine Star Trek is like, but it's just not like that good. It's just like, oh, this is okay stuff.
There's some, I guess everybody's getting older, but like, how come there's no like Savick type character? Like, what if there were some characters who were older and finding themselves getting younger, and then a younger character's like, I gotta put up with like these old fogies, and now they're all horny and jumping around. Like, if there was some POV outside character to what their experiences were, I feel like it would maybe set it off a little more. But instead, it's just our crew kind of acting a little wackier. But I don't know. It's I think it belongs at 9 probably.
Yeah, I think so.
What about number 8, Mika?
That is where I have Beyond.
Beyond.
Yeah. I think it's the one I enjoy the most out of JJ Trek. But I don't enjoy it as much as, especially like the TOS films. Yeah. By and large. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I decided to place it here. I also think I've only seen it once, so I think it's something that I need to revisit as well. But I remember enjoying it. I remember it being fun, and I definitely enjoyed it more than Into Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
So number 8's not bad.
Yeah.
Gooey, what about you? Number
8 is where I have Generations.
Okay.
Just like a step above where it's like, yeah, it's that. I love the characters. Yeah. Everything up from here is like pretty much stuff I actually love. Yeah. I would defend most of these movies going up. Yeah. A lot harder than Insurrection.
My number 8 is the motion picture, which I respect it. It's an amazing accomplishment. It's very beautiful at some points, but it is so flat, mostly, emotionally. And the sort of riddle or the twist of what happens in it is neat, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot, and there's never any real repercussions from it in the world of Star Trek. We sent a probe literally across to the other side of the galaxy, and it came back after it met a machine intelligence, and it just goes boop, and then we don't get any data or anything. That was the whole point. Idiot feature Voyager 6.
For me, it's like it's a good movie to be like, hey, if you're just like stoned or something. It's like, whoa, sure, that's crazy. Yeah.
What if it did come back? What would happen?
Yeah, we'd have to talk to it with a radio.
Okay, is it me again? I can't remember. I'll do it. Number 7. My number.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, did you?
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. My number 7 film is The Search for Spock.
Same
for me.
Whoa!
Yeah!
We're jinxing on quite a few of these.
Well, it's what? That's number 7, right? So that's midway.
Yeah.
That's basic box standard sea-level Star Trek.
We're getting to the cream of the crop.
Actually, remember, they're all weighted, so this is like a B. This is like solid B Star Trek.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Mika, why don't you give us number 6?
Number 6, I have The Final Frontier.
Really?
Star Trek 5.
Nice.
Yeah. Respectable for that one.
I think, rewatched it within the last year and just found some things that I liked about it a lot more, especially, the stuff with Bones. I do think that there's like a lot of things going on in it. Like Cybok, that whole thing could be its own movie, and then like when they go to that town that's really Star Wars, it feels very Star Wars, like a cantina almost, and it's like, and Ahura is dancing for some reason.
Oh, yeah. The one I also stuck out to me when I first watched it, because one of the represented, the Earth dude, in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, is that right?
He's like the scientist in that movie.
Right, yeah.
So
yeah.
I watched that movie so much as a kid, and then when I saw him in this, I was like, oh.
Wait a minute.
Gooey, what about you?
For
number 6, right?
6,
yeah.
This is where I have the motion picture.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I really like the movie. And I talked about how I like kind of more sci-fi it is. I especially love, and I also said I like the Spock stuff. I love all the Spock stuff. I love the beginning when he's like on the mountain and it looks like a book, like a sci-fi book cover.
Yeah.
And it's all intense. It's like way more intense than you would expect a Star Trek movie to be. And I guess I do kind of like how doesn't feel like anything Star Trek. So.
The blaster beam sounds.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have at number 6, Generations.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Hey, it beat 7 other films.
Yes, it did.
But it can't beat the top 5. It's fine. I think it's a great melding of the two crews. I'm glad that they did that. There's talk about how they wanted to do another Star Trek after Nemesis and have it be like the Avengers of Star Trek, where they try to get as many characters in. That might have been interesting. This is the closest that we got. But yeah, I just think it's a good, solid film with some good, funny moments and some tense moments. And Malcolm McDowell's in it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Gooey, why don't you tell us what your number 5 is?
This is where I have Beyond.
Okay.
I like the movie. It was basically what I realized Into Darkness should have been. Because at the end of 2009, I thought, okay, great. It's a little stupid, but it establishes this new world, and let's go on a space adventure. And then Kirk kind of goes through the same thing again in the first one, where he's not in charge of the ship, and then he's got to get in charge of the ship that he's not in charge of, and we're defending Earth. And I'm thinking, like, let's go out and just have an adventure, So I love this one. I love Justin Lin movies.
Yeah.
And it did. It was like we're gonna get the Fast and Furious guy and make the It's not like JJ said, like we want to make it like Star Wars. It is like Fast and the Furious, and so I like it. It's a big dumb kind of action movie with some cool characters, and that sometimes those are my favorite kind of movies. So that's why it's in my top 5.
My number 5 is Voyage Home.
Okay.
Star Trek 4. It is... Why is it here? It's here because all the reasons we've talked about. I think that it is... here's what it is. It's just a good film. And you think about, how chaotic some Star Trek productions are and how there's so many ideas that you want to put in and they don't ever seem to... Ron Perlman is in Nemesis and he doesn't do anything. Ron Perlman, Hellboy's in that movie and he does nothing. He doesn't even get to do the procedure. He keeps putting his hand on him. But everything in 5 works, and it's the third act of a 3-act trilogy that goes way crazy right swerve turn into time traveling whales, and yet somehow lands the third act of a trilogy, follows all of its things in terms of Spock trying to regain his humanity, him kind of reconciling with Bones, all the characters getting to do something amazing and fun and funny. Kirk kind of putting his demons away and realizing that he's got a new lease on life and can go back out there and do the thing and be a captain. And it's just funny. And there's a good joke about the Yellow Pages in it. So I don't know. Everything about it works. Mika, what about your number 5?
My number 5 is Generations. Maybe I just remember this fondly, but I liked the captains getting to interact with each other, even though it was brief.
Guinan is awesome in it, too. We didn't mention that.
Yeah, and I love Guinan. Guinan is great. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of... I just thought it was a fun movie merging, or actually, passing the baton. So.
Do you think there's a draft where he meets Soren in the Nexus?
Maybe.
Because, or does that complicate things? Because everybody who's been in the Nexus is in the Nexus still. Yeah. So, Soren's there, but if you think, maybe Soren is trying to stop him within the Nexus, but he wouldn't be. He would be seeing happy, perfected Soren. He would be seeing Soren, nice guy, at rest, at peace in his ultimate, lovely world that he wants to return to.
Yeah.
And so maybe we would, for a few moments, we would see what Soren would be if he hadn't been consumed for, 75, 80 years by this lust to return to the Nexus.
That's a great idea.
In fact, we should have seen that.
Yes. That could have put it over the edge. Because, where
I
am
would have been
now,
number
I
one.
feel like it's, a pretty solid movie, but, yeah. They could have helped that guy.
Yeah, blow that guy up. Who cares? Gooey, what about your number 4?
This is where I have The Undiscovered Country.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's a good spot for it. It's a really good movie.
Sure.
For all the reasons we basically said. It's got the purple blood.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. At this point, we're just talking about the most awesome movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that puts us at me, and my number 4 is Final Frontier. And I'll just steal everything that Mika said about Final Frontier. Fan dance included. Cybok, Spock experiencing his greatest pain, which is, I don't know how he remembers, but his father being at his birth. Not being like, my child has come into this world, and I will give him my knowledge. It's just like, okay, yeah. And that being the worst thing that would haunt a Vulcan for the rest of his life.
That kind of suits his character.
And even Kirk just being like, I need my pain. No!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is really good.
Yeah. And that, I always knew I'd die alone. That's sort of defining him, for good or for bad. So, number 4. How about you, Mika?
Number 4, I have First Contact here.
First Contact?
Yeah.
So like that.
I think it's the best TNG film. I do kind of feel like maybe I feel like both the plots are related to each other. I don't remember it as well as I would like, so that's why it's not higher on the list. But I remember really enjoying it, and I remember the Borg stuff with Picard being really good. And also just some wacky hijinks from some of the other crew members, and and then just also trying to make sure that the first contact happens on Earth so we can fix stuff. So
Ruby Dooby.
Yeah.
Gooey, you're number 4, right?
I did 4.
Okay, so top 3.
Top 3.
I got First Contact at 3, so.
I was gonna. Oh, that's right. Okay, so go ahead. I was gonna see where you go 1, 2, 3, but
no,
go ahead.
So yeah, I think like I said earlier, I think it kicks ass. It does have. It's not a full it does give different characters different stuff to do, which I really like too. Yeah. And something that I like Jonathan Frakes director a lot.
Yeah.
And I do think they do always do a good job of there are some episodes or movies where it's Picard does something and then Riker's the co-captain this episode, which is cool. I feel like he always does a good job. He's the anti-Shatner, where I feel like he's not really worried about being in the spotlight too much. He always has something really cool to do, but it's not Riker's the coolest guy around, even though he's directing the movie, which I feel like could happen if you're in charge. Just I want to make sure my guy's the cool dude,
Yeah.
And so I think I like them trying to get the thing going. I like Barclay's back. I love all the little nods, the doctor's there, and then just the all the action stuff on the ship is really cool. Assimilate this, and I love all that stuff.
Well, my number 3 is First Contact, so I'll just pick it up where Gooey dropped it. Frakes is a director, and setting talking about not emphasizing him, doing the scene where Ooby Dooby's going on and James Cromwell's doing his thing, and then Deanna is, 3 margaritas in, she's drunk at the bar, and he comes in to be the straight man. He doesn't come in to do something else and to throw a lot of jokes around. He just lets her play off of him, and then lets Caramel keep doing, come on, Dina, who keep doing his thing in the background. And it's just he's almost directing while he's on screen, being the actor too. He's just sort of letting them kind of do their thing and emphasizing their performances, which I think is great. I want to talk about the villain, the Borg Queen, who I feel like a lot of people hate. Or maybe not, I don't know. I think a lot of people think it's dumb for the Borg to have a queen. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think Star Trek has a real dearth of kind of memorable singular villains. And when you look at the Borg, do they count as a singular villain? Maybe they do because they're a collective. I don't know. But I think giving an actress like Alice Craig a chance to play a singular character like this and to make the stakes personal. The Borg are cool and scary, but if they don't care and they just want to scoop your cities off your planets, it's hard to feel anything to hate anything. And so giving, at least for this film, they take it way far as they continue into Voyager and into Picard. But having this villain for this film, she's a great villain. And she looks like a Bride of Frankenstein, or like a Universal type villain. So
that's why I like it. There is something scarier to me about just the no queen way they were perceived before, but as a cool movie villain, it's fine to me, It's actually it's more than fine. I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
so.
And then looping Data into that and giving him something to do as well is really cool.
I think the Borg Queen design is really neat. I mean, Borg are always really cool, right? Mm-hmm. They've got
there's not much to design
and plugs.
It's just a head.
I know, but her hair is cords and stuff like that.
And when she's apart from her body.
Yeah.
And has a
that looks really
That's
cool.
Awesome.
I mean, assembly required, I guess, for your Borg Queen.
Ever rip your Barbies apart?
They've gotten broken. I don't think I've
or
ever
G.I. Joe's too had that rubber band in their chest.
Right.
If it broke, then your G.I. Joes come apart.
I never broke them on purpose, but I can't even tell you how many Barbie doll heads I've broken off, and I've been very upset about. And they never look the same because you squish their heads on, and it just looks like they have no head. It's very disappointing.
The zippy edition of Barbie.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Nice.
Just a really fun movie, and I really debated over flipping this and First Contact, so that was kind of the debate for me.
It won.
This one because I don't know, because I saw it recently.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah, the freshness of all of these in my mind definitely contributes to where they are on the list.
Yeah, and it's just a fun movie, and I can appreciate that, and I think we were talking earlier about how it's very ensemble, and I like that too. And I don't know, it was kind of interesting seeing Uhura and Chekhov get paired up with each other, and here she's the communications officer, and she's trying to get somebody's attention. So
or Scotty and McCoy.
Yeah.
How many times on TOS did they really do anything together? Unless there's something wrong.
Hello, computer.
You're right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And then he was really relishing being the
Don't
professor.
bury yourself in the part.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's really good.
All right, that's our number 3s.
Yes.
What about our number
2s? My number 2 is The Undiscovered Country. I love this movie. It's just a really good movie. I've watched it a lot. It's always a good time. Iman is in it. But there's just so much going on, but it's like every part makes sense,
Yeah. In a way of it's like a thriller at times. Yeah.
And it's kind of I don't think, what happened. I mean, obviously it wasn't Kirk and Bones shouldn't have gotten punished because of, but, they didn't do it, but, they, you know, and that's part of the thing that's cool about it too, right? Like, we have, like, this character who is another Vulcan that Spock is training or what have you, and, like, she's the bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see Kirk actually in trouble, even though, like, he didn't do anything. Like, really actually in trouble.
I was thinking about In the Name of the Father.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where, like, Kirk is, like, the Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's got to take care of old
McCoy. Bones! Yeah. Yes!
Trying to clear his name.
Yeah, writing
Emma
letters.
Thompson with a Klingon forehead. It's like, you must remain alive, remain Klingon. Are we going over to Gooey yet?
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
I'm going to sound like a contrarian, but I put Wrath of Khan at 2.
Okay.
It might be like the best one, maybe, but it's not my favorite one.
Okay.
I think that's completely fair.
Okay. But it is pretty much a perfect movie, so it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, everything about it is awesome. So, yeah, if you want to talk about it more last, I understand that.
My number 2 is Undiscovered Country.
Okay.
And because I already said quite a lot of good things about it, I'll just say that I think it's fascinating that, you know, it's the last film they came up with this premise where Kirk is finally going to bury the hatchet, you know, and lay his arms down as far as the Vulcans go. And as they're conceptualizing and writing this movie and shooting it, and it's in post-production, things are happening in Russia. And there's a coup that happens in Russia where they try to overthrow, you know, the Gorbachev and the government. And it fails, but it basically is like the end of the USSR. And it mirrors, in so many ways, everything that was intended in this film. And they had no idea that that was coming.
Yeah.
They basically predicted, you know, I think like Nick Meyer says in his memoir that they got a call from like the State Department, like, hey, what's going on here? You made this movie. Do you guys know something? And it's just like, it's one of those times when like art just predicts, or art is in the same place as reality is. Like it's hard to know if you weren't like, you know, born at that time, like what the tensions were like, and just having this evil empire, as they called it, across the ocean, and seeing art show us the way to sort of like trying to get past that, and then having that, and it should always do that, but having it manifest itself in such a weird way in the real world. And of course, you know, as Kirk says in the film, we've got more history left. We found out that was true about Russia because we are where we are now. But for that moment in time, I just think that it's an incredible moment in time, while also being an incredible movie with a bunch of people who are just at the height of their powers. So it's a good film. And Worf's in it.
Worf is in it.
That's
his ancestor.
Yeah, that's such a baller movie.
I love it.
Worf Zero.
Yeah.
We're back to you. What's your number 1? This is it.
Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. I really, really love this movie. I just love everything about it. I love Khan. He's such a great villain. And I love a good villain. Like, I think it really helps make a really good story, you know? And, like, him and Kirk are never in the same room with each other. But
right.
you still, like, feel, like, the tension. And I like Carol Marcus, and, like, learning that Kirk has a son is fascinating, but like, you know, him and Khan like chasing each other, like I don't know, it's just it's a really good movie, and it's suspenseful, and like horrible things happen. The worm thing, even though like the worm in the ear, it's so gross, and like
it's such an easy effect too. All you have to do is make a giant rubber ear.
That's all you have to do.
It's 3 feet wide.
But like it's such an old special effect, but it still works for me.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. It's gross.
Khan's menacing in like a way that they wish like most of these other villains were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because maybe it just feels so much more authentic in this, like with the worm thing, or when the guy phasers himself, or like when they find the bodies.
There's a straight up suicide in this movie.
There's like horrifying things in the movie.
Yeah.
But it really fits, and it doesn't feel like try hard, whereas I feel like they now have gone to the limits of like, we gotta blow up these planets to make you believe.
Well, yeah. It's very personal stakes. Yeah. What's your number 2?
Number 1.
What's your number 1?
My number 1 is Star Trek 4.
Star Trek 4.
Basically because of what I said before, where I love that it feels to me like the most Star Trek of the movies, because it has all the characters. They are all kind of doing their own thing, and it's like it's goofy and it's funny, and it's like a sci-fi premise, whereas like, I mean, there's plenty of, going back to the original series, plenty of just like battle, balance of terror type stuff. But when I think of Star Trek, the first thing that comes to mind is like, like an episode like Shore Leave or whatever, where they go down this planet and they see like the Easter Bunny and a samurai and stuff. And so that's what I like about this weird. Is Spock's mind melding with a whale, and
right.
I just think it's a really fun. It's like one of my favorite, like, I don't want to say comedy, but like fun movies of all time, I think so. But it's back and forth for me with Wrath of Khan. I think they're basically the two ideal types of Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
And then your mileage is like, other movies fit in that category more. Like Undiscovered Country is like your Wrath of Khan style movie.
Yeah.
I've definitely, like, I know quite a few people who Star Trek 4 is their favorite.
Yeah.
It's
not
like,
a Rotten Tomatoes.
The whales.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know, but the whale one, I like the whale one.
Yeah, it's almost like a joke, but I think that, I don't know. I think they had the right idea.
Well, obviously, my number 1 is Wrath of Khan too, and like going back to something that Gooey said, I struggle also with the best one and my favorite one. Only I did my list wrong, because my favorite one might be 6, but I think the best one is 2 in terms of rating it impartially. And the reason is because I think it is one of the best scripts. I think it has it's not as packed full of action or humor or pathos as other ones, but the balance of everything is just right. What they accomplished with the effects at that time and the look and feel of it, which is a big evolution from the first film, and what they establish is amazing. And, Nicholas Meyer, the director, also wrote the script, and he wrote it without knowing that Gene Roddenberry had based his original ideas on Gulliver's Travels, but also on Horatio Hornblower and the idea of nautical adventure, in the British naval tradition. He didn't know that. He came up with that on his own. He thought, I love those novels, and I'm going to make it like that. And only later did somebody, Shatner or somebody, say, this is just like what Gene wanted. He liked the Horatio Hornblower. And so the fact that like somebody could look at something, have no experience with it, and get it, and when he gets it, make the exact same thing, is incredible. And I think that you mentioned, Mika, of the fact that they never meet. You see that in Hornblower all the time. Hornblower will be wrestling with this other captain, and they'll never share a deck together, before one of them, kills the other and has to kill them because of their job is their allegiances. And I just think that like it captures that feeling so much of just being alone in space, being on your own, like the way that a ship is, its own little world out in the middle of nowhere, and you're all you've got, and having to fight and face somebody else. And like the revenge theme and the checkout screaming and everything else. But yeah, I think that it really just encapsulates. It's the best Star Trek film, I think.
All the little like interpersonal moments with the characters are like the best in the series. Yeah. But I even think that started, I think, in the motion picture a little bit too.
Yeah.
More so than
Talk to me, Spock.
Yeah. All right.
Why are you acting weird? Well, thanks so much, you guys, for joining me. This has been a lot of fun, and I think I've kind of reoriented my perceptions about some of these films. So I'm glad that we had a discussion about it. Tell people where they can find you online and what you're going to be up to, what you're looking forward to at the show. Mika.
You can find me online at justenough.com and at Mikanhana on Twitter, and I'm looking forward to hearing Janeway speak, Kate Mulgrew, and also like the DS9 panel sounds really good.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to, but this is my second Star Trek con, so I don't know, and it's like my first, actually, I guess we did go to a con last year too, but
but first kind of like
it's
there.
Been a while,
getting back out there.
So I'm just looking forward to experiencing a con again. So
coming out,
and experiencing it in a way maybe that's a little bit more pre-pandemic than the one we experienced last year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Gooey, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at GooeyFame, and I'm looking forward to, because I've never been to a con, so I was sort of like, the things I hear about cons is like, well, when there's a Comic-Con or a Trek Con, that's when like trailers come out, and then you see like the like stuff where you can buy stuff. So I at first I was thinking like, I was worried. I'm like, am I just going to like watch commercials and like buy things? But then I'm like, oh yeah, there's like the panels or like the other thing I thought of is like, oh, like paying for autographs. Like I'm not really interested in that. But then I realized, oh, like, yeah, it would be great to hear like William Shatner talk about his experiences for a half hour. So I'm really looking forward to like just going to those panels of like some of those people, like the James Cromwell one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then yeah, when I saw that there's the screening of the motion picture, I was like, oh, and I can just watch the movie. Like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited.
You don't have to sneak in.
I'm excited, I guess, to see some cosplay. Like,
I'm
just
sure we'll see some cosplay. Oh, yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it, so.
No. Just t-shirts.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
It was fun.
BackTrekking is back for an all-new season. Hi, I'm Caliban.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
And we'd like to introduce you to BackTrekking, the podcast that explores the real-world inspirations behind your favorite episodes of Star Trek.
From historical events to classical literature to blockbuster films, we go where no pod has gone before to seek out the origins of classic Trek tales.
Did you know, Gooey, that the TNG episode Too Short a Season was an allegory for the Iran-Contra affair?
Yeah, only sweatier. Did you know that the Enterprise episode Regeneration was an homage to the John Carpenter film The Thing?
Archer and T'Pol freezing to death over a bottle of whiskey would have been a controversial ending.
As a dog lover, Archer would not like The Thing, I'm guessing.
Oh my god, movie night is canceled. Join us every other Thursday for a journey back to the beginnings of the Trek universe.
BackTrekking is available wherever you get your podcasts.
No, Porthos!